I have this theory that you get, although you get better as a director technically and blah, blah, and there's something that you lose that you're always seeking to try and get back again, which is a kind of innocence really about how should we do this. It's a high wire act, obviously, because when you go onto a set, do you reveal to people that you don't have a plan? There's so many people involved and so much money involved, even on a film of this scale. People want to feel they're in safe hands and somebody knows what they're doing. And yet, actually, the interesting stuff is when you really don't know what you're doing and you find out as you're doing it. That's a lot easier to do when you've no experience, because it's sort of there automatically anyway. Whereas when you know what you're doing, or you should know what you're doing, it's harder to replicate that, but it's still important to try to.
Yeah, every movie I begin, it's scary. It's scary because it's an adventure, and I don't know what's going to happen on the film. And I sometimes, if it's a special effects picture, I'm more confident because I've already previs half the picture and know exactly what I need to get. But when it's a movie like Bridge of Spies or Amistad or Lincoln or even Saving Private Ryan, where there were no storyboards except for the U2 shoot-down, that was the only time I did storyboards on Bridge of Spies. But when I don't have that to fall back on. It's scary and it's exciting all at the same time.
You know, you try to transcend a certain feeling and an intention as, you know, the character that you have. And sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't. And that is also how it is between people in conversations always. And you may misunderstand, but that will lead you into doing something completely different. So whatever I had in my head, you know, I don't know if that, well, you know, you never know how it's going to land. But that is acting, you know, tennis playing.
I studied Meisner. I majored in theater in college, but then I studied Meisner for 2 years in an intensive program and then continued in a master class. And you really have to create characters. But I wasn't surprised I could go that deep. I'm a writer, and I like specifics, and I like to daydream and figure it out. So I'm surprised that I wrote a script. Because like I even though I know I work really hard and I have no free time, I think of myself as like inherently kind of lazy, but I know I'm not. Like anyone who knows me would be like, that's insane. But I really love stand-up and writing, and I love what I do. And so, no, I can go deep.
I mean, it's always really, really unnerving. The thing is like going to school for the first day every time. And I think that's probably why people recollaborate, to avoid that awkwardness, you know, so that you get the trust thing. And I can see why a lot of the great directors use the same actors, they use the same DP, they use this, because you just go straight to the work. And it's you know, it's this group of just sort of, my friend calls it the circus of the unemployable, you know, these ne'er-do-wells all gather to try and make something, and everyone has a specific skill, but you know, it's a miracle when you make something good, you know, because for every good film there's, you know, I don't know how many that don't quite meet it.
I haven't met any actors who don't have the same fears of, like, you know, you get on the set and you're waiting for that moment the first day for you to do your first take, and everyone in the crew just points to the door and just like, this is the one who's not supposed to be here. I think everyone goes through that. And, you know, on a movie like this, I had no idea what the tone of the set would even be, you know. It's such a massive film, and the nature of what we're shooting is so dark. I didn't know if we'd come onto set and it would be something where everyone's just like whispering and there's no levity at all. And you know, actually was the exact opposite.
I do think there is a very different approach as a director, because of course, even when you're thinking about the camera angles and where you are in the first fight in the plane, it's not just you know, about them getting shot at and surviving. It's the choice to make it that we will introduce each man, we will understand the geography of the plane, and then we will stay inside this particular man's point of view, because we want the audience to feel what it's like to be inside this B-24 bomber, but we're going to do it through Louis' point of view, and Louis' point of view only. And we will do that through the film. And so the choice of doing that was a way of communicating to the audience, I think, it was a way for a director to communicate and guide the audience. Here's what it's like, here's the point of view through a blindfold, on a raft, All of these things, we tried to make the experience of it and bring you inside the camera.
And that's one of the great things, I think, about having a filmmaker that you can completely rely on to capture everything and to see everything, is that you don't have to raise that question, oh, are you going to come around from there? Because actually I was doing really something that was, that he's kind of completely aware of all of those elements, and you just, you're free to just get on with what you're trying to do.
Everything is the result of a lot of planning and advance preparation, as much communication as possible between the creative departments and the actors. But in the end, you're subject to the sort of panics of the day and the limitations of a low-budget shooting schedule and things that you really wish were not factors in your creative process, but they always are. And so there's some serendipity, there's some unexpected events that sort of propel, we have to get this now, And so it's hard to look back and go, oh yes, I, sat back with my, pipe and pointed to that moment and was so thoughtful about it. And sometimes it's just like a hysterical crazy effort to get what you need to complete your cut.
I know from as long as I've been watching film and TV, I want to watch good stuff that has a strong story and has strong characters, which in my case are female characters that are well-rounded. So with the result, I only ever want to play those kind of roles that have something to them. And that's how I hope I can be involved in sort of like producing a film or helping to create a film that other girls who think like me and want the same things as me can have that, And I can only do that kind of through what I'm drawn towards, which is smart girls.
I mean, I think that's one of the challenges and the reasons why some people have an aversion to historical drama, because there's not as often an approach that we are going to make this entertaining, that we are going to not make this something that you have to do and it feels like spinach, it feels like medicine, it feels vibrant. History is exciting if it's approached in that way. And so, it wasn't daunting, it was a challenge. I don't like historical dramas, yet I was asked to direct one, so I had to deconstruct for myself, what do I not like about these? This patina of respectability, this distance of like everything was okay at that time. It wasn't. These were people that were getting their hands dirty. They were radicals. It's a beautiful time. And so we were just looking to just bring all that nuance to the surface. Let there be some grit. Let there be some texture. And that's what we attempted to do. And I think people are reacting to it in a really strong way that I think proves that we're onto something.
Whenever I shoot, I'm looking really forward to these intimate moments, because that's like what I, as a film director, like the most. Because when these moments don't work, you can razzle and dazzle them as much as you want. People will not, enjoy your movie very much. So, and then I always say this to everybody, for me, the worst is actually action scenes, because they take so long to film, and when you let's say film for 2-3 days action, you every day produce only 20-30 seconds, and that's it. But when you do these intimate moments, you maybe can go home and say, I shot 2-3 minutes of film, and you feel very satisfied with that. And that's what's it's very difficult to keep the balance. And some people love these action moments and they get lost in them. I more hate them. So I more looking forward to the intimate moments.
The more eccentric and the more idiosyncratic you can make characters, the more you force people's perspective into going, oh, this is just an individual, and I can empathise with them if I want to. I can choose not to. It's completely my choice, but I have to respect that they are their own person, their own identity. And I think that's a kind of lesson that we're not trained in as an audience to empathise with a female character, or even a female filmmaker sometimes. You can't do that. Well, I have. I've done it. It's happened.
No matter what job you do, you just try and do your best and model through like everybody in life, I mean, to be honest, the biggest surprise for me was that they didn't cut me out of the film.